Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast formerly known as, what was it called? Who Cares About Ross and Patrick? But this is the podcast called We Hired a Sitter for This. And our releases have been sparse, but I think we got a plan. New episode today. Enjoy it. New co-host, perhaps. New sidekick. Perhaps the leader. This episode was so good. He's so funny and interesting that maybe this is his show now. I don't know. But anyway, my old friend from comedy, Gastor Almonte, is here to help ride this ship, to help push the stroller, to get in the minivan and go for a ride. Ross knows him. She loves him. He's just great. And he's a father of a couple kids here in Brooklyn. Also, he's a comic I admire and respect, and I just love. You can see his stuff on Comedy Central. You can see his stuff on Amazon. Please enjoy this episode featuring Gastor Almonte. You are listening to the We Hired a Sitter for This podcast.
We hired a sitter for this.
We have a roster of like 7 sitters.
I hate authority, but I'm a mom.
I'm an old man. I need orthopedic shoes.
The laughs, the chuckles, the TMI.
Some people might say, why would you have kids? The oceans are rising. The economy's collapsing.
And they're not wrong. I'm Ross.
And I'm Patrick.
And we hired a sitter.
Gastor Almonte, you're in the office. You're the third person to ever see this space. Nobody has ever seen this space before.
Patrick, I feel like I'm part of the marriage now.
You're in.
I'm in, baby.
Yeah, you're taking over. You're taking over as guest host on this episode of We Hired a Sitter for This.
Hell yeah.
This could be a permanent thing.
I'm with it.
Ross is a busy lady. She's doing 3 jobs this week. She's got today she's on a photo shoot. Tomorrow she's doing postpartum doula work. Later in the week she's doing, what is her third job? I've forgotten already. Oh, yoga. She teaches yoga. She's doing 3 jobs. She doesn't have time for the podcast anymore, so I'm so grateful you're here to be a part of this.
Hey, I'm honored, sincerely. Also, very impressed with Ross.
Yeah.
You know, that's a solid LinkedIn page right there.
Yeah. That her LinkedIn, she's got many bullet points.
You know, I mean, all of them present, all of them till present.
Yeah.
I do all those jobs now.
Yeah, and then from about 7 p.m. on, once the baby goes to bed, we're all just so tired. So that's why I wanted to bring you in. You are a multi-hyphenate yourself.
I try.
You've got a couple of children at home. You've got a wife.
Word up. And I got those.
You are a man who is out there doing the thing. So I don't know. I thought it would be great to bring you in and talk about life and parenting and comedy and all the things.
I'm honored, man. Sincerely, I always love hanging out with you, homie. We good money.
Yeah.
I'm glad we get to do this in a normal setting. One of our most recent hangouts was you attempting to jump my car. Oh,
yes.
It was a odd adventure.
Yeah.
I appreciated the company.
We both had sets at the tightening cupboard and your car wouldn't work. And listen, I still feel bad about that. I grew up, my dad's a mechanic. My first job was in a hardware store. I worked at a shop for a winter break during college doing oil changes. I'm good with that stuff, and I could not get your car to jump.
Listen.
And I'm still ashamed of that. Deep in my soul, my male ego is ashamed that I couldn't get your car off the ground.
Listen, you and me both, brother. I have a very blue collar man's man image. I did not know what to do. I was fully relying on you. When I got home, my mechanic lives on my block.
Yeah.
So he literally jumped it instantly. He was like, why didn't you jump the car? I was like, we tried for 4 hours.
He was like, which women did you have try to help you do that? Was there someone illiterate involved? Did you not read the very simple directions on the jumper cables?
Dude, he's like, there's only 4 connections and 2 of them go to each car. Literally, it should have just been a trial and error thing. At some point, you should have got it right.
I do think my jumper cables are dollar store, Dollar General jumper cables. So maybe they can only do 9 volts at a time. It's a lower grade charge.
Hey man, he was not impressed.
Well, that's actually interesting. You bring up that show because that was I was sort of first getting back. Our daughter's 3.5 now, but that was 2 summers ago, I think, that we did that show together. And you did have both your children there.
Very rare, actually.
How old are your kids?
Right now, my daughter is, she turns 15 in 2 weeks.
Oh, my gosh.
And my son is 13. He'll be 14 later this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time that I brought them to a show. It was not my plan.
Right.
there I wasn't on the lineup originally. Somebody backed out and they hit me up like an hour before the show, and it's so close to my house that I was like, yo, it's a day off, but I could go do this and be back.
Right.
And then I couldn't get a sitter, but I was like, yo, like my kids could see one like inappropriate comic.
Right.
I'm not that bad, and then I'll leave.
Yeah, you're clean. I mean, you're clean.
Yeah, like for the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I might curse, but like I don't cover children okay topics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
And it was wise of you once you got off stage to get them out of there before I went on stage.
hey man, it just would have led to some fun combos after. That's it.
But I like that you they were there. They had, I think they had some devices. Were they?
Yeah, my son was on his like one of the
Switch?
video game things. Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me, so a 15-year-old daughter, 14, almost 15-year-old daughter. I have a 3.5-year-old daughter. Will this get easier?
For me, it has. Because I feel like this is what I'm good at now.
Yeah.
I'm definitely old school dad. Like,
yeah.
I like, for example, changing my daughter's diaper took a lot for me to like, yo, I got to do this because it's not always on my wife. I'm an equal partner. But there was a part of me that was like, yo, like I'm not supposed to, do this job only because I've never like wiped the vagina ever.
Yeah.
So much involved. And there's so much pressure, wipe the right direction.
Yeah, you got to wipe away. Get away from the vagina.
Yeah, and she has no voice. I don't want to do her wrong.
Right.
So yeah, there was a lot of that. And the machismo of it, of like letting my dad know that I changed my kids' diapers, was a whole thing.
Yeah, tell me about that. Like culturally, what's your family history? What is it like for? Because that's also something I'd like to dig in with you in general on this podcast, is fatherhood.
Right.
I'm sort of like obsessed with what it means to be a father, not because I want to be like some macho, like I am a father. Like I just I have my hang-ups with my father. My father's father was like this legendary dad, and then my mother's father was like Don Draper from Mad Men. He literally had like a different family before my mom and her sisters. Yeah, so like I'm just obsessed with like, where did these men come from? What were their childhoods like? What were my great grandparents like? Like, so I don't know. I'm curious because I'm sort of figuring it out as I go.
Yeah.
And I've read, I read the books, and we do a lot of talking, me and my wife, and she's still, like, as hard as I try, she is the one with shouldering so much of the responsibility. Like our daughter's like obsessed with mama, it's mama this, mama that, and like it's a lot. It's hard on the wives, so I don't know. I'm curious, like, what was your dad like? What's it like culturally in your family? And that's funny. You had to like come out to your dad as a dad who changes girls' diapers.
Yeah, like I was like, yo, like I'm involved, and like that was a thing. Like that he was like, you're not supposed to be. I'm very thankful of my dad. We were in the same house, same family. A lot of people like assume he wasn't there just because of the lack of direct memories I have with him.
Yeah.
But no, it's just he very much believed that like a father's job was to supply and to provide. So he took that to heart. Like he always had a job and another thing.
Yeah.
So like legitimately during high school, we lived in the same house, but he was managing a garage in the city while opening up and running his own laundromat in a building that he was renovating. That was the first building they bought that we didn't live in.
Right.
So I would say legitimately during high school, I would see him like once a month.
Wow.
Like on some, like he's awake and in the house.
Yeah.
If he was in the house, he had to sleep. And it was he was comatose. Like even if he was on the sofa, he just wasn't present.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I'm very familiar with that. So that's the classic thing is, Dad, are you sleeping? No, I'm just resting my eyes. My dad could rest his eyes, aka fall asleep at any family function. He's on the couch asleep. It's like Christmas Day. There's 30 people in the house. It's at my aunt's house. He's asleep on the couch, just knocked out.
And the thing is, like, the first thought that most people have is, wow, that's impressive that they could fall asleep that fast. And it is. But that's not the thing that I find fascinating. What I find fascinating is that we all agree he needs to do that.
Yeah, dads can do that.
Like, yeah, that's just cool. Like, he needs that because either you know it or you've been through it or you know one that has and you know one that doesn't. So, I appreciate if this is the problem that he's so tired from providing. Yeah, that's peace.
Yeah, he needs his rest.
You got to recover.
And listen, I'm never gonna do that, but here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get really into meditating, and I'm gonna meditate. I'm gonna get my chair that folds out, and I can kick my feet up, and I'll meditate with my eyes closed. And sometimes when I'm meditating, it's so deep and transformative and transcendent that people might think I'm asleep, but I'm just meditating.
Listen, man, that's how you rejuvenate.
Yeah,
you're there. I'm present. I told my daughters I'm gonna be at all the stuff. Physically, I might not be there here, but I know that I got there here, and that's what counts.
Yeah, dads zone out. We zone out.
Listen,
our dads did it.
That's not my job, and that's what I've come to learn. Like I'm trying to be equal and fair with like the task of day to day.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a modern dad in that regard, and I think it's important to like recognize when your partner needs help. It's a squad, you know what I mean? It's a team.
Yeah.
But I do think our roles are different.
Yeah.
I feel like my wife, her job is consistently more stressful than mine. She's like 1 through 10, she's level 7 every day.
You mean her job or her job with the family?
Job with the family. Yeah. As a parent, she handles the day-to-day stresses, the convos, the minutia that comes up every day. Admittedly, I'm not there. I'm level 3 in terms of stress.
Yeah.
I'm chilling. But when it hits level 10, I have to handle it.
Sure.
That's the caveat. And that's why it balances. Like
what's a level 10 scenario? Have you ever had to talk to any other children's parents or like break up fights or
a few things? One, safety. There was I've had weird people knock on my door at 3 a.m. When the building next door caught fire. Those are all dad, you better run this. Yeah. Like this is a you thing. I
actually remember a level 10 with my own dad. We woke up in the middle of the night and my parents had 2 station wagons in a row, the same model. They got a Chevy Celebrity twice. It was like we were so self-conscious of this car. We would get dropped off at school and this car was like, why do my parents have the fucking old lady car? And they got rid of one and we were like, it was a big day. We go to the dealership, we're gonna trade in the car, get a new car, and they just decide to get the same car again. Anyway, the front seat is like a big bench in the Chevy Celebrity, and you don't feel like a celebrity when you're in the Chevy Celebrity, by the way. And it's a big bench in the front, and we wake up and the horn is blaring out on the street. Like, why is the horn blaring? This is a level 10 situation. Dad, you got to go check it out. So he gets the #1 device in security for upstate New York. He gets a yellow wiffle ball bat, and he goes out to the car, and there's another dude in the car just laying across the front seat asleep with his foot on the horn.
Hell yeah.
Drunk. This guy drunkenly went into our car. We don't lock doors in upstate New York in the 80s or early 90s, I guess. And the guy's asleep in there because dads need sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And
hell yeah.
My dad opened the door and said, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of there. And he's wielding a wiffle ball bat. And the guy thought he was in his home. He was so drunk, he thought he was at home and asleep in our car. So anyway, that was a level 10 situation.
I love that.
And dad's got it. Mom's not going to do it.
That's not a mom job. She shouldn't have to handle that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And with my own kids, my daughter 2 years ago had a friend of hers that was very sick. Didn't come to school, and she decided on her own to go see the friend.
Okay.
And we had not, this is the first year that she was even walking to school on her own. So that was a big deal that a month ago you just started experiencing New York on your own. She was this was 3 years ago.
Yeah,
now
when did they go on the subway by themselves?
That just started for my daughter this year.
Yeah,
it would have been earlier. That was actually one of our few arguments as a couple. Because I thought it should have been 2 years ago normally, but with the quarantine, it kind of pushed that, I think, general development experience for a lot of New Yorkers. But my argument, she's like, yo, I didn't go to school by myself. in any way that required like bus or train to high school. And I was like, I get that, but New York City gives the train and bus pass to kids as early as 3rd grade.
Right.
So I'm like, yo, like they're expecting those people to go home on their own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It shouldn't be a crazy troop, but yeah, they gotta be able to handle St. Borough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, like she had a friend that got sick, and she came home and wrote a letter saying, hey, my friend is sick. She didn't come into class. I'm really worried about her. And I went to go see her, and wrote her address in the book, and then just bounced. She didn't have a cell phone. She had just started walking to school that
that's
year.
Scary.
Yeah, I was like, yo, what the fuck? You know, so like I went to every room to verify, yo, she's really gone. I asked her brother, who's normally like sarcastic, and he was like, oh nah, like dad's different right now.
Yeah.
No, she's not here. She's
And
not
was
here.
where was it? Was it a different borough?
Same borough, but in terms of walking, it was like a solid 1.5 miles.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was a troop.
And she was how old?
I would say this was about 3.5 years ago. Like
Yeah.
it was the first time she went. She's in 9th grade now.
So she's like
3 years
11
ago,
years.
6th grade.
Yeah. Oh my
So
god.
yeah, this is the first time she went to school on her own,
Yeah.
and it only been happening for like 3-4 weeks. So like for her to go from like, yo, we just let you experience this kind of freedom, I'm okay with it, and I had to convince your mom
Yeah.
this is gonna cut all of that off us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like so, A, I had to go find her. B, my wife was at work.
You were
in the
like
office.
Liam Neeson.
Yo, on some realness, I was like, yo, who got my kid? And then like, so there was so much. A, she miswrote the address.
Oh god.
You know, so
Yeah.
I'm knocking on the wrong building, explaining, yo, I need to find my kid. I'm calling up the school saying, yo, I don't know who this kid is that's sick, but I need to know their info to get my kid. And they're like, we can't share another kid's info.
Oh,
I'm like, yo,
God.
yes, you are.
Yeah.
You know, because I know the kid's name. I know my kid is trying to see them. So I'm like going off on that. I'm knocking at this random family's house on all the floors. And like, I finally get back to the crib after like stress looking for like 1.5 hours. I had to call my mom over to like watch my son and kind of play home base just in case she comes back. And like, I'm coming back to the crib because my mom called me. She's like, yo, she's here. She came back.
Yeah.
So I get back over there and I'm like, yo, like, and I had to be super stern because
Yeah.
she did something that I didn't agree with. This was peak COVID too, where like we didn't know what we know now. So like I was like, yo, like you could have got sick. You don't know why she was not at school, and you don't know what that could lead to. You've never met her parents. This is your first year in that school. You don't even know her like that technically. There was so much that I had to go off, and I had to do it in a way that like scared her enough to not to do this again. Make sure that her mom, my wife, feels that I handled it so that she's comfortable at work, that like I'm handling this conversation.
Yeah.
By the same token, not being an actual jerk because her intention was good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does that make you feel good that she went for that reason?
It was pure. Like she was like, I wanted to check in on her. I brought her homework. Beautiful shit. But I'm like, yo, like there's other aspects to that thing. So she misconstrued info that like we had given her before. You know, like, you know, me and my wife check in on our friends. You know, we help each other out. I'll go drop off.
Right.
So that's kind of what I was conveying. Like I had to convey to her, like, yo, like I'm not mad at any of that, but you should have told us, and we would have made that decision with you about how to best help your friend.
Right.
You can't make those freaking 11, homie. You can't be out there making audibles like that after school.
Yeah, you're not in upper management with the parents.
Yeah.
You're still like we tell you when and where you can go places.
Yo, and I was like, yo, like, you know that like even now when I go somewhere, I tell Gabby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I'm not asking permission, but like we're a team. She need to know where I'm at. You don't have that ability yet.
Yeah.
You know, but
Now,
she's dope now. She got a cell phone. Every time she gets to school, she texts us.
do you track her? Do you have a tracking system?
Gabby does. I don't. I trust.
Yeah.
I trust her a lot. She's like
Yeah.
genuinely very forthcoming about what like bothers her, what she finds stressful. And Gabby does though. She has like
has
the
Gabby
little AirTag things.
Oh yeah. Has Gabby had like the talk with her?
I don't know which one.
Like boys and men and pregnancy and
Oh yeah, for sure. I wasn't there for that one. I find that would be awkward for me.
yeah.
They they definitely like did all the.
And by the way, if I'm throwing any questions that you'd rather keep private, please.
No.
Please just say so.
They did all the women's stuff a while ago.
Yeah.
You got to do that when it starts happening.
Yeah,
but
do they tell you at school, like, do they say, hey, by the way, parents, you should probably have these conversations now, or do you feel that out?
They don't announce it, but you kind of get the signs because like
it's not in the morning. Not in the morning enough.
You'll get like a mass text like, hey, yo, check in on your kids.
Yeah.
They're going through puberty. But you do get signs because of the after school clubs they start offering.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like soccer. It'll be like LGBTQ, how you identify thing, or stuff like how to manage like boyfriend, girlfriend with parents. That'll be like the discussion in homeroom.
Interesting.
Wow.
So
when I'm hearing that like as a school thing, because I check with them like, I need a recap what you did with my money.
Right.
And they'll tell me what they did for the day.
Is this private school?
It was. It's no longer but the after school programs were. So yeah, like stuff like that. Like they would give me recaps, and it was like, that's a sign that like the game is changing.
Yeah. Wow. And let me ask you this. So she goes on this excursion on her own at 11 years old. At any point, do you feel upset and scared? Like, because I would be afraid when I'm sternly talking to her or yelling at her or whatever, processing it.
Yeah.
I'm such a softie. Like, I'm scared I would just start crying and say, like, I was really scared I would never see you again. Like, that's very, like, I feel like I would want to fall apart.
Yeah, that's after.
Yeah.
Nah, in front of them, I feel like I'm jolly as a parent most of the time, and like I have like a process. Like when you do something wrong, I always say it 3 times. Like I'll say it's silly the first time, and they usually stop because I make it a point. The second time I'll get a little serious. The third time it's like, yo, we do this again, it's gonna be different. And it's only been different like twice.
I would listen to you if you said, if we do this again, it's gonna be different. That's a great phrase.
Yo, and like so, like I escalate it every time.
That's not a bad approach for hecklers too.
Yo, it works. It works everywhere. It works in management. It's the 4-step system to get written out of a job.
Yeah.
I follow it everywhere. I say it's silly the first time. Yo, but for real, don't do that again. All right. And then like the second time, like, yo, we talked about this, right? And I make them say when. Each time, like, what did we say before? What did we talk about? And then the third time, it's like a real talk, and I tell them like, "Yo, like, I'm not bullshitting now. If I have to say this again, it's gonna be different." And I leave. Like, that's the whole
amazing.
thing.
And remind me, was this management experience with Pepsi or something?
Yeah, this is Frito-Lay. That's how I learned.
Frito-Lay, yeah. People. So talk about that a little bit, like, because I want people to get to know you a little bit on this episode. So you came up so your dad was this serial entrepreneur, it sounds like, multiple businesses, multiple homeowner. You grew up in East New York. As a young man, you got involved you started working for yourself early, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then you ended up starting comedy while you were doing this management job, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of the bio?
Yeah, you got it, man.
So talk about those early jobs, and it sounds like you apply that stuff to parenting now.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big Sopranos fan. So when when I started, like when I got promoted as a manager, the first time I was still in college when I was at UPS, I got promoted to manager because I worked hard, but admittedly I struggled. Like I didn't do well.
Well, it's nice they let you keep the UPS uniform.
Hey man, I'm out here, baby. You know what I mean? What can Tan Brown do for you?
By the way, I am wearing a uniform now as a grown man. I wear this exact combo, like, I don't know, a couple times a week. Most of my shots on stage are of me wearing the same stuff, and that's because I've given up. I don't care about clothes anymore.
Yo, bro, I've been doing the Dickies outfit for like a year now.
You wear it well.
I got 3 colors and that's it. I just rotate them. I hated that every show hired a photographer. Like I love it in terms of social media. Yeah. But like I'm burning shirts the first day I got them.
But we're clean. We clean these clothes.
Yeah, of course.
We just like what we like.
I got like the superhero like cartoon closet. It's just the same shit over and over again.
Yeah. I got 2 blue shirts. You've got tan, black shirts, and we've got 2 Chevy celebrities.
Hey, yo, we out here, baby.
1 white, 1 blue.
Laundry day is so much easier.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? It's so much less stressful. When a shirt gets stained and you got to throw it out, you're not heartbroken because like it's not your favorite shirt. It's the same shirt.
You know your size. You know your size.
The same. You gain weight, you lose weight. You know exactly why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can see it instantly.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many. It's invaluable. Time saved. I love it.
Cornel West talks about this. If you wear a uniform day to day, you can think about bigger and more important things. I'm not thinking about anything that Cornel West is thinking about.
Fair.
I'm not handling world problems or racial issues, but you know.
Oh yeah.
So okay, so. All right, so that's a level 10. Your daughter disappears. See, this happened to me recently. My daughter is really good on the scooter now. She's got one of those little Razor scooter things.
Okay.
And she flies, man. And on over here on Troutman on Sundays, they close down the street, and it's like a little street fair. And we go over there on the scooter one day, and I said, you can go anywhere you want. I just have to be able to see you because the ends of the blocks are blocked off.
Ooh,
and so
okay.
she takes off. She goes maybe 200 feet away, and then but I can see her, and there's no cars. But she goes behind a food truck and disappears, and I just start sprinting because I'm far away, and there's foot traffic, and it's like what could happen in those 30 seconds. You watch enough Forensic Files, you're just forced to be a good parent. It's like who knows what's behind that food truck. And I by the time I got up to her, because I ran up there, I'm just like almost about to like. Because, I think feeling so much fear and feeling afraid makes you pissed. It creates an anger.
Yeah.
So you want to yell at them. But then I'm just like, I had to like say, you got to remember, I got to be able to see you. I don't know what's over here. And it gave me that panic response. So I'm now thinking of what that will be like when she's older. And I don't know where she is for hours at a time. That's kind of crazy.
I support yelling. I'm not going to tell you that yelling isn't my move. What I will say is that it shouldn't be your default.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think every now and then a kid does something that requires like, yo, this ain't a convo moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if the level of seriousness warrants that, yeah. And in turn, if it's not your default, it registers. You know what I mean? Like it hits like, oh, this means something. Even getting a little teary-eyed. Like I yelled that day and I told her, I was like, yo, like you have to understand, like, you are the whole thing. Like this whole operation, your mom and I working hard, it's centered around making sure that you and your brother are safe and healthy and moving forward and growing. You risk that for me. Like that, everything I live for, everything I'm doing, I didn't know where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm allowed to be pissed right now, and I hope you get that. So in turn, like that registers, I think, different. Now, if you're like, I don't think you should be abusive. Don't be yelling, oh, you dropped the cup. That's just stupid. That's a mistake that's normal. And I try to let all of that stuff be chill in the house so that I want when I'm angry to be a powerful thing.
Yeah.
You know, and sincerely, you can ask my kids, I've legitimately yelled at them maybe like 4 times in their whole life. The first one, I lost my temper and I apologized to my daughter. I was like, that was not right. No one should speak to you that way, and like I really like kind of like made it a point to let her know like I'm human, and regardless of while I have faults, I shouldn't have done that, and know that if I do that in the future, know that going forward I'm gonna correct it going forward. Like I won't just be doing that just cause.
Right.
And then any other time I've done it, I can count them. When I ask them, they're like, nah, I deserve that. Like, fully. So and I think that's important. I do think you're allowed to like change tone and emphasize the point. You know what I mean? But yeah, I know TV dads didn't do that. I know my dad wasn't that. My dad was like 0 or yell.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And
because I'm worried about I'll be a total 0 in terms of emotional pushback. Like I'm very affectionate, but I can, when things get stressful. And if Ross is taking over, if she's like getting in there to like correct her or like rein her in, whatever's going on, if she gets heated, that kind of triggers me in some way where I just like withdraw, and then that drives her crazy. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics that happen with trying to parent a little one who's kind of she really has been pushing a lot of different boundaries, and so that's interesting to hear. It sounds like you've been able to figure out what communication works best with your kids.
I mean, I think it's communication that works best with most people. Like, if somebody does something that annoys me, I don't yell instantly, but I also don't let it slide. I bring it up. Yeah. And in turn, like, the first time it's usually, like, yo, you all right? You good? Like, if somebody bumps into you, you know, I don't expect a huge thing, but like, my bad is cool. That lets me know you register it. But if you don't say that, I'm going to turn around and say, yo, you're bad. Like, I'm going to bring it up. Yeah. Especially if it's people that, like, I'm going to be around regularly. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think you have to, like, address those things. Like, and I think that it's a human thing. But in turn, like, what I found is both, like, in work and in life, when you address those things, if you do it respectfully, people appreciate it because you're, like, weirdly helping them grow. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I worry I'm too passive. I want people to like me, so I'm nice, and if somebody treats me like shit, I'll maybe not stick up for myself as much as I should, or I'll just like secretly decide, well, I'm not dealing with that person anymore. But with a kid, you just have to.
Yeah, you can't tune them out.
Yeah, you can't. Like, she's. Interesting.
Yeah, I know. Gabby says that, like, initially, while I was really working on that, there were times where I was angry and I wouldn't talk to the person I was angry to.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, but they felt that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, she was like, they could tell you're mad, and. She was like, but I would take the day before, like, addressing it, and I've reduced that time.
Right.
But I also don't want them to think that that's a healthy response. Like, yo, people shouldn't be like steaming every time they walk past you,
or just in confusion. Because whatever bothered me, not everybody can read my mind. So I got to just say what the problem is.
Yeah.
That's really. It sounds like you and Gabby have a very solid communication style.
That's my homie, B. Hell yeah, yo. Real talk.
When did you guys meet?
Years ago, because I met her when I was probably 13, 14. She's my best friend's older sister.
Wow.
So, like, I know
older lady.
Yeah, yo, 2 years older.
Wow.
That's my peoples.
That's incredible.
Real talk. We didn't do any of that.
Do you talk about your age?
Yeah. I'm 40 now.
I'm 42. Okay, we're very similar. So,
amen.
Gabby is my peer.
Yeah,
I can't believe you're dating such an older woman.
Yo,
wow,
man,
scandalous.
She look better than me. You know what I mean? She got no grades.
She's a gorgeous woman.
Appreciate you,
I hope
man.
that's okay to say.
No, of course, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, so how were you parented? So your dad wasn't around a whole lot, but was there, like, you guys aren't doing any like, did you grow up getting hit at all, or?
Definitely. Yeah. So he kind of like the whole level 10 thing. He was that still.
Where's he from again? Because he's
Dominican Republic. Okay, both of my parents.
So when I met him, he doesn't speak a whole lot of English, right?
Nah, he fluent, but like it's broken English. It's street savvy stuff. Like, he grew up in DR, came here when he was like a senior in high school. Yeah. So like, he learned English here, but it's all like it's not like, polished, if you will.
And when I met him, he was doing yard work with a machete.
That's my man.
He was an intimidating man. I think we were doing a podcast, actually.
Oh yeah, yo.
What was that podcast?
That was the old joint, Stoops to Stages.
Oh yes.
Oh
yeah. So was he, like, if you did something real bad, was he the executor of the punishment?
Yeah, he would check me hard, and it was always like yelling and a beating. Yeah. But that was like a very last resort, because my mom who was around for like almost everything, knew that would happen, so did everything possible to kind of like work with me to like, yo, I don't want to have to resort to this. Right. But like, there's certain things that like I can't hide either.
Were you a bad kid though? Like, did you get involved with stuff?
No, for the most part, I think that's kind of what what saved me with Dad. Admittedly, like I don't think he could have dealt with a bad kid. I feel like for the most part I behaved. I don't necessarily think I tried hard in school, but I was always an honor roll. Like, I did well with school. Yeah. And I was the only child until my senior year of high school. My siblings were born like literally right as I was graduating. So like,
How many siblings do you have?
2. My brother was born right before my senior year. My sister was born a week after graduation.
Wow. So they're just in their early 20s.
Yeah,
still.
like they're like other kids to me.
Wow.
Like, yeah, like my sister to this day like texts me like a parent.
So you kind of had a little bit of practice being a parent before you had your own kids.
I tell them all the time, like I messed up with them. Like I got all of that out.
Interesting.
And I think that helped quite a bit, honestly. Like I initially.
And does everyone live close?
Yeah, we live a block apart. When I moved out of my parents' house, I rented an apartment from them initially at like a super non-possible New York discount.
Yeah.
To save up for a house, and when a house came open from a friend of ours on their block, so I bought that. So I'm literally like on the other side of the corner.
I don't know how you don't have a sitcom.
Yo, real talk, man.
How do we get Gas Store, a Netflix original series
Let me
about
know,
East
man.
New York, Dominican multi-generational family? Everybody's helping each other out. I assume
Speaking into existence, bro.
you had free childcare with the brother and sister, your own
Amen.
siblings taking care of your kids sometimes.
Mostly my sister. I love my brother, but I don't know if he's responsible
Yeah.
with that stuff.
Is he the cool uncle though?
Yeah, I would say that. There's a cool uncle on each side. The problem is there's no second uncle on this side.
Yeah,
so there's no responsible uncle.
There's no nerd. There's no nerd who will just stay in and read Harry Potter to them.
Yeah, but he and my son enjoy like video games and stuff like that. So
That's beautiful.
They'll hang out a bit.
I was talking to Jeff McBride the other night. You know,
Yeah,
Jeff.
yeah.
We were at a show and he's got a new one. He's got a little baby. I shouldn't share too much. I don't know how much he puts out there, but he lives in a building with his wife's. Him and his wife live together, and then his wife's parents live upstairs. And he said, every day I bring him to Abuela daycare. He calls
Hell
it.
yeah.
And
I love that.
I'm so jealous of that because we have family in the tri-state, but we don't have family close. She goes to daycare. But I would
respect
kill
y'all for paying that.
we got in a good one. It is a lot of money, but it's way cheaper than all the other ones, and it's great. It's all like Dominican ladies,
Oh, yeah.
and she's learning Spanish already. She loves it. She's like the mayor of school. But I would kill to have a grandparent close by.
Bro, it's clutch, man. Like, in terms of instant sitting, it was always my sister. I got to give her props for that. She, up until like, I would say from high school forward, I would hit her up to babysit them whenever I had to do something like a show or a date night where like I knew it would be a couple of hours and the kids would probably be in bed. And then as they've gotten older, like I leverage my mom more just because, I want them to spend time with their grandparents.
Right.
I think that's important. And now, like, my siblings are, like, in that age where they're too cool to do that. And I remember being that, so I don't want to, like, spend 4 hours on Friday with, 11-year-olds.
Yeah.
But, yeah, my having access to my parents has been dope. As I mentioned, my dad was a very particular type of parent.
Right.
Watching him transform, I think having grandkids has helped him as a person.
Yeah, I think grandkids will soften a man.
Yo, real talk, it's different, man. Like he's so much more empathetic. Not just with them, too, with me. Like he's just a different dude. Like I could kick it with him now. And I feel that that's in large part because of what my kids have done for him. Like they're a chance for him to just enjoy babies and kids without the stress of raising them.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's also giving them new life. I felt like there was a point where he was like, I'm probably going to like stop hustling.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's like rejuvenated because like his whole dream is he wants to leave each kid a property.
Wow.
So he felt he was done. He's like, hey, kids getting shit. And then he was like, nah, I got new people to get stuff for. You know? So he's on like a new mission. And just seeing that energy with him coming, and he comes over, he cracks jokes that are like, I feel like adult jokes, but he loves that they're like, they're snappy. Like my kids are comfortable, talking back. So they'll give it to grandpa. Yeah, so that's been ill. And even and also the other side, like, my parents live a block away. My in-laws live 6 blocks away.
Yeah.
So like, they're not far either. So they have like access to them. And again, it's just dope to kind of just be able to trust people that you love with your kids.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And again, it kind of allows you see these people that are invested in you for so long. Every now and then, just kind of getting to see them when you in the trenches and being able to be like, yo, my bad. Like, I see what you was telling me.
Right. Totally.
It's invaluable. I get to do that regularly with my parents. And even with my in-laws, like, they seen me since I was 13. So like, like that whole idea to me is wild. They're like, I spent years just fucking eating your food and going into your fridge, talking shit with your son, and I'm married now to your daughter, and like I've created people that are now part of your fam, and like doing knuckleheaded stuff with their son. Now I'm like, yo, I get it. Are
you and him still tight?
Yo, that's my dude. Hell yeah. Do we
Was he the best man at your wedding?
No, because I did City Hall, but the youngest brother was.
Yeah.
But I was best man at his wedding. He did the whole official church thing. And we do Christmases at his crib every year.
Oh, nice.
And
they're in the neighborhood also?
They're in Queens now, sadly. I love them, but it's definitely a drive, a decision to go there.
Yeah.
But
well, it gives your daughter a place to go to the next time she wants to disappear.
Fair enough. I do like that his wife is dope. So me, her, and the youngest, my boy Carlos, his wife, the three of us have started in-law gang. So we're getting shirts made.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So we show up to events.
You're gonna do a softball team or
real talk. We want to
paintball?
play the Bloods.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Maybe the Latin Kings. MS-13 is one of everybody. What if you take over the neighborhood as the in-law club? Was it in-law club?
Yo, it's just the in-laws, B.
Oh,
I just think it's ill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Blood versus in-law. We gonna play each other.
You got to choose wisely with your colors, because a lot of the colors are taken up now.
Real talk, man.
Maybe you do a lavender.
I'm with it. Fuchsia.
What I like about hearing about your whole neighborhood and community and family and the closeness and the proximity is your kids are just fucked when they want to go out and start partying. There's a whole neighborhood watch. Like, every movement of theirs will be monitored and seen.
Yo, I hope they know. That was my life too, though, because like my pops was like really out there, like on the streets, and like, so when I would go out, people be like, yo, that's Leo's kid. So like, there's only so much stupidness you could do.
Yeah.
And again, thankfully,
that's so old school.
Yeah, like it was just like if I walked around, like I would hear older people say that. Like if they were like, when I was in my 20s, anybody 40 and up kind of like knew me as that. And then like even like 25, 30-year-olds, you were just like a little bit older than me, like you would hear about my dad. So you'd be like, oh nah, like yo, I heard your pops, yo, well, and like even now, like my pops is 60 and there's still people that like come up to me and be like, yo, your pops was a G back in the day, or like, yo, I remember that dude, he's a legend. And I'm like, and like there's people that are like shook of him, and I'm like, yo, that dude got a cane now, like like he's a whole different vibe today, but he still got hints of his own self, but it's interesting, like kind of walking around and hearing people who had a very different experience with my dad. There's a lot of pride that I get with it, honestly, because like obviously he had to do some like scary stuff on occasion, but like he did that to provide.
Sure,
and, like, I get to hear now the other side of those like legends, because now that like he's disconnected from it, he'll tell me them now humorously as opposed to like in the moment being scared. And like I realized that like the reason I bring that up is because like I was never like a hoodlum, but I was definitely like urban. Like I'm from Brooklyn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I enjoy chilling outside. And I'm talking to my kids now, and they have a disconnect of like dad is just like this serious guy in charge.
Right.
And every now and then like someone will come over that's like an old friend, or like we'll bump into somebody outside who's so hyped to see me because they know me as that kid.
Yeah.
Or like and even now people that are like my current friends, they'll see me and like talk about comedy, and like my kids know I do that, but they don't have like they don't
Yeah.
see me that.
Well,
you know?
because at the house, you're the guy telling them what to do and what
Yeah.
not to do and when to do it. You're a fucking annoying
Yeah,
guy.
like
You're
I'm
the-
not that, you know.
Yeah.
So like I'm not fun.
Yeah,
and like it
yeah.
blows their mind that like you know, not for nothing in high school I was like very popular in the neighborhood. I was very well known. And in my hood I was super loved because I was in charge of the youth group at my local church, right? And
So you're getting a ton of girls.
well, not that. Like actually, like the reason it was dope is because youth group, like you know,
Sports teams.
yeah. So like
events.
the church wants it to wrap up at like 8-9 o'clock.
Mhm.
But to keep my people safe, I just started opening the gym up at 10, and we wrap up at like 3 in the morning.
Oh wow.
So, like I would have to like tip the janitor because he would just come in and
you're
like
just peeling off ones.
Yo,
off of
I'm
a-
like, yo, my man, it ain't much, but like, you know, we just running court, and he kind of like got the rock with us.
You're like, I stole this from the tithe bucket at church.
Yo, straight up, and like they would give us bread to put in on church on Sundays, the ball players, but it was just a way of like keeping people that I knew were good kids but knuckleheads outside, inside. You know what I mean?
a place to go.
Yeah, you know, because you don't need a 18-year-old kid in East New York doesn't need help at 4 p.m. He needs help at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was just an environment that I had that. So, like today, when people see me, they show me love. Yo, that was a dude that had the gym key.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like, and like, just it's just peace. And now seeing them as like mature men.
So the
it's
nighttime basketball, that was like illegal off the clock. Like
Yeah,
no, but
for
you
sure.
were sneaking people in.
Yeah,
Oh,
like,
I like that.
Yeah, it like again, like I talked to.
I mean, God was watching, but
Yo, and I feel like God would agree with me.
yeah,
I use the resource for good. I understand
a greater
that,
good. Yeah,
yeah, you know, and I get that like the priest wouldn't have agreed, but it was just it's part of the culture. And like what really makes my heart warm, yo, is that like the key is like a legacy. Like I found out that it's still like happening.
that original copy.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
like I kept passing it off, and like there's a new set of like 18-year-olds that play ball there now, and like some of the OGs will show up. You know,
unfortunately, they are running a gambling ring, and there's some light prostitution going on at this point. But you know, at least they're not doing drugs.
amen. You know, but now they we got some solid ball players. We good. You know what I mean? But like my kids who bump into will be with me when I bump into people that knew me of that life,
Yeah,
and like it blows their mind that like people view me as like cool
yeah.
and not just that.
Well, it is interesting when you get to know your parent as a person.
Yeah.
Like we just threw our dad a 70th birthday just a few weeks ago.
Many
He turned
blessings. That's
70.
fire.
Yeah, and there were like 55 of his friends there or something, and these are all people.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but like my first thought is, yo, 55 of your dad's friends made it to 70?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fucking incredible, yo. What they doing in upstate New York, man?
I thought you were gonna say 55. You couldn't sell out the room.
Yo, 56
no,
people from your
it's-
squad make it to 70?
It's crazy. He made it to 70. I mean, this man smokes a pack a day. He drinks, when he drinks, he'll drink 20 beers at a time. He claims he had 2 beers for New Year's Eve. I just talked to him yesterday. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you had 2 beers. My whole life, if we're ever seeing him in the morning, he said, oh, I don't feel good. I ate something last night. That means he drank something and he doesn't feel good. But he turned 70 and all his friends were there, and he's the kind of guy. It's hard to talk to him in general. It's hard to connect. But when he does talk, he'll start talking about friends he's seeing. He's like, "Oh, I was over at Donnie's house. We were talking about this and that, and then we went to see Joe across the river." And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck these people are. He's just saying names like I know who they are. So I finally get to meet all these people at the party, and it was really interesting to hear people say things to us about him, and it's like, oh, it's nice to know the thing I took away from it is it's nice to know he has real friendships and people that love him and care about him, because I just think of him as this lone wolf smoking cigarettes alone in his shop where he works on tractors, you know?
Yo, that's beautiful.
So yeah, I get what you're saying. Like sometimes your kids will get these glimpses of who you really are. Like you're not just the dude yelling at them, or I know you don't yell at them, but yeah, like you're not just an authority. You're like a well-rounded, full person.
Yo, it's dope, man. And like I'm realizing that like they've gotten more of a view of my dad than I have because of that, you know, because they've seen the more current version of it, but he gets to be more open with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think that's kind of like a blessing both for my dad and for my kids. They kind of get to know this dude that like hopefully made me into a good person and someone that they appreciate, but at the least they kind of get to see the source, you know,
Right.
like this is the OG material.
Yeah.
In turn though, like and admittedly because of comedy, but I started like journaling. I got like a whole like Notion thing.
Yeah.
Where like I do a daily entry, and I also like separately have like my joke ideas, and like I'll write you know, my thoughts on different things that I'm thinking about that day. So that like when I pass away, like I'm gonna have the password to that for the kids.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, like I was like, yo, like this isn't all gonna make sense because it was just some of it is just me rambling, trying to come up with joke ideas in this part.
Yeah.
But you get my diaries, you'll see like my daily thoughts. The journal diary thing in particular, I'm making it a point to write down like a thing that like moved me every day.
That's
Whether
beautiful.
it was like,
wow.
you know, happy or sad. And then the other parts, they're getting like my random ideas where like if I listen to a podcast episode and they see something interesting, I, you know, link the episode and then I write my thoughts on it. So they'll hopefully get an idea of how I think.
I'm imagining when you are gone and they get this digital link or whatever to this website or whatever it is, this hard drive, they open it and they're just looking at each other like, I thought we were going to get an apartment building. What is this nonsense?
First one to finish reading all of it gets the apartments.
Yeah.
Okay. You know?
That's beautiful. It's like a time capsule of like who you really are.
Yeah,
And
man.
it's smart you're doing it digitally. I have all these journals around here are like morning pages that I handwrite
Hell
for
yeah.
the last whatever years, and it's all nonsense or it's like too personal, and I'm like, I don't know if I want this kid to ever know this about me. So I might just have a big barrel burning ceremony.
Hey, man, it works.
Throw my body and the notebooks in there. It's all gotta go with me.
No one gets this, B. Now, man, I want it out there. I feel like I won't be here, so like if it is too vulnerable, this is the time to share it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think I'm okay with that. B, like I feel like it's important to show that you're flawed to your kids.
Yeah.
Especially if they're reading it when this happens, they're adults.
Yeah.
Who might be struggling with real life for the first time, and that's kind of what like threw me the most off when I became a parent. That like I didn't have answers, and every time I talk to my parents, they kind of like understand and like kind of also like laugh a little because they're like reminiscing on what it felt like to discover that no one has answers, because they're like, yo, I still don't know necessarily what I'm doing,
Right.
you know. And like that realization in adulthood, it's almost beautiful to watch your kid go through it, and it's also tough to watch your kid go through it because you have to kind of let them figure that out,
Yeah.
you know. So like you can offer advice, but you can't do it for them. So I'm hoping that like, yo, God forbid something happen, I want those notes there of like, yo, you saw me as someone that like had everything down. I didn't.
Yeah.
And you could kind of read that, you know. By the same token, I won't be here, so I don't have to like cry and feel embarrassed that you're reading these things. But I want them there. I think they have value. And like super like altruistically, I think you and I have talked about this before. As a comic, like I've discovered that my funniest stuff comes from my like worst moments.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
These are like faults or things I'm working on. And I feel like the longer I do stand up, the better I become as a person, because I'm analyzing the things that I did wrong for jokes. But also, if I'm not an asshole, I don't want to keep having the same problem. I don't want to sound like I'm making the same mistakes as a person 3 specials from now.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm hoping that my kids who are living being my kids will see that like I was becoming a better man, and then when they're older they can literally read the thoughts that led to me being that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because right when the pandemic hit, right when Ross was about to have our child, I was like doing shows about like the most private stuff, the most vulnerable stuff, the biggest mistakes, and I'm really proud of all those jokes and stories and that show could be. And my life is so different now. It's not a lot of that. I'm not in that still, but I'm proud of what I made. And there's this part of me that's like, do I make a version of that show so it's out there because I like what it is? But do I want my kid to ever see that stuff? I'm not sure. It's really confusing because we put ourselves out there so much that, you know, they'll be able to find it if they want to. And I guess it's like, yeah, what is too vulnerable and what is private and what's the math? You know, is this so funny that it's going to help people and it's going to be something that's great, or is it not funny enough to put out there and then your kid finds it and whatever?
Right.
I don't know.
That's partly why I have it as like a separate thing. I don't plan on releasing those notes.
Yeah.
And I hope that that's part of the lesson they kind of get from it, because I actually think that's what their generation and the ones after are going to struggle with the most. Right now, I feel like every person creates content by force. It's not even that they want to. You literally are a brand from the second you're born now. There's so much of you visible online. It's going to become right now it's mandatory to have emails and apps on your phone to do everything.
Right.
So much of their life is going to be shared that we used to have to we had to make a decision to share, whereas now it's going to be a decision to not.
Right. Yeah.
So I want them to see where I kind of made that line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to require me sharing with them what I thought, hey, this is too private, but I hope that it gives them insight into oh, this is something that my dad cared about or thought about deeply, but didn't necessarily care that the world needed to know this, but wanted me to.
I gotta say, I would kill to have anything like that from my own dad. I don't know that I've ever seen him read a book or write a thing down that wasn't something relating to, just a note, like a phone number or whatever. I've never seen him really express himself in any kind of real way. I saw him cry a couple times, when his mother's funeral. He's such a mystery to me, and the idea that you are giving your children, you're creating this thing for your children where they can take that church key and unlock who their dad was or is so beautiful and generous. Because I think our generation, I mean, how many people? Because also, if you leave them only your art, only your stand-up, that's some version that you've curated to present in a certain way for laughs. But what you're giving them is real stuff, and that's just so cool. I would kill to have that.
Yeah, because they should have something that the public doesn't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There should be a difference. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they'll have my art, but they should also have access to more. I'd be curious with your dad if if you had I would invite his friends over again.
Yeah.
And have prompts.
Yeah.
And record it.
Yeah, I actually sat him down in September. I brought this camera actually.
Hell yeah.
And I sat him down for I think an hour and a half, and I just asked him a bunch of questions, and he was surprisingly forthcoming. But I do think you're right, because he's also he's not super verbally articulate. He's just a pretty stoic kind of old school guy. He's not gonna say, oh man, that's I'm glad you asked that, because let me tell you this story. He's not like that.
Yeah,
but some of his friends might be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You bring his people out, have some prompts, some questions, and some detailed things that would get more out.
Yeah.
Because in the group, someone in that squad is a storyteller. I promise.
Yeah.
And they'll say enough things that yo, does that sound right, Dad? And now you can get them for corroboration and details. Also, there's just value in seeing how other people see them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's worth capturing. I had that in mind with my dad. Actually, I want to do that for his 65th.
Yeah.
I want to kind of sit him down and kind of do a real heart to heart convo in terms of legacy stuff and stories. He's really good at sharing fun stories with me though. But I want to capture them so that I don't lose them.
Right. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, man. It'd be ill. I think it'd be fire to like have people be able to kind of go back and see those. Just cause like it'll be like that whole, was it 23andMe or all of that? Like I want like a version of that
document.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yo, this is who we were, this is who we are, and you know, it goes back to this. You know, like I'm willing to. I feel like storytelling and like arts in general, are passed along.
Mm-hmm.
And part of like the disconnect that my dad and I have had as adults is that I'm pursuing art as a career, and I feel like he doesn't realize that. Like, I think that was something that might have been in him or wasn't somebody in the fam, and you just didn't have the resources and the access to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, what's interesting is for him to be as successful as he's been in so many different businesses, he had to be very creative.
Right.
Like, it takes a lot of creativity to figure out, how am I going to do this laundromat? How am I going to do this building? How am I going to do this garage? How am I going to do all these things? How am I going to manage the time and hire the right people and keep it all on track and make it all profitable? That takes so much creativity and a lot of hard work. And the way it manifests is just so different for a performing artist versus somebody who, I mean, your dad's making money. He's
right.
Like he's probably really proud of you, but at this, on some secret part of him, he's like, but where's your laundromat?
Right.
You know?
And that's, we have this ongoing bet, by the way, that like, we're racing to 20 million.
Okay.
He is way ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is the whole thing.
When we sell this series to Netflix,
we back, baby.
That's what we're gonna need is a $20 million budget.
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah. Well, listen, we should cut this off here, but I mean, I feel like there's so many things we chatted about that sound like things we can keep talking about, see what happens. I appreciate the creative ideas for my dad's thing, because I do want to keep filming with him. But I'd love to do this regularly.
I'm game, homie.
And listeners, we call our listeners sometimes producers. Producers,
I like that.
Let us know what you thought about this episode. Please do follow Gastor. He's all over social media. His Instagram's on fire right now. He's throwing out the content. He's upping the content.
Oh yeah.
He's at Gastor Almonte, right?
Amen.
Am I saying it Almonte?
You nailed it.
You got specials. You got a special on Amazon Prime. It's called Immigrant Made.
Yeah, that's
and
me.
the album is called the same thing. Get it on iTunes or stream it. Immigrant Made. He's been on Comedy Central. Well, I'm getting emotional talking about it. He's been on Comedy Central. You got a couple sets on there people can see on YouTube.
Yeah, yo.
He's just a great comic. One of my oldest friends in comedy.
Real talk, B. We came up together, man. Like, I sincerely, whenever people ask me, like I feel like I became a comic at QED, running with you,
yeah, man,
with Freddie G, with Lauren Hope Crass. I feel like that time there, just kind of like seeing people like yourselves that like really put in time to get good at the craft. I think it made me who I am. I thanks to Freddie, the three of us got to rock out at Caroline's together.
Oh yes.
You know, we had some fun like comedy memories. You know,
I also remember a show we did at, I don't know if it was still the Laughing Devil or the Standing Room. That guy Steve had us on a show. That's when I met, I think I met Gabby that night. You know that narrow room in Long Island City?
I love that room. That was a very awkward space to perform.
Yeah.
But I digged it.
But
I liked it.
That's where we met. I believe we met at that show. And you just always, I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished.
Yo,
by the way.
Real talk, man. We're taking over, homie.
Yeah.
We out here.
Well, thanks everybody for watching or listening, however you took in this media. And we'll see you next time on We Hired a Sitter for This.
Word up.